Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. So we got a technical issue, right? So we'll wait another 2 to 3 minutes until others join. Now, if you can pass the message in your groups, right? Right. So we were discussing on weighted average cost of capital. Right. Get it. You have to take the market values. Market values. Now, for preference shares, we know the current price per share. You see, for preference shares, but we don't know number of shares to calculate the total market value. Therefore, we'll assume the preference share 100,000. This value is equal to the market value. So market value 100,000. For equity shares, we know current price per share 100. You see current price per share 100. But we don't know number of equity shares. So if the number of equity shares were given, you can multiply it by current price 100 to get the market value. But we don't know number of equity shares. So let's assume this value is same as market value. So we'll have to assume the given values are market values. Right. So you'll have to assume these given values are market values. Now you can calculate the investment weight, investment proportions, W. The total is 10 million. Sorry, 1 million. The total is 1 million. Out of 1 million, 400,000 debentures. Then how much proportion out of 1 million, 400,000 debentures? 400,000 debentures. So investment proportion 0.4. Out of 1 million, 100,000 preference shares. Investment proportion 0.1. Out of 1,500,000 equity shares. Investment proportion 0.5. Right. Now, weighted average cost of capital is investment proportion multiplied by cost of each component of capital. Investment proportion multiplied by cost of each capital component. So investment proportion of debentures 0.4 multiplied by cost of debenture, we got 5%. Investment proportion of preference shares 0.1 multiplied by cost of preference shares 11%. Investment proportion of equity shares multiplied by cost of equity shares 12.32. So you get the total, that is weighted average cost of capital. Weighted average cost of capital. Right. Any question?
Okay, it's clear.
Right. Now let's do this part 3. Part 3. So I'll give you 5 minutes. Quickly do the part 3. The question is on getting the growth rate and calculating the cost of equity. You see in the earlier question, we got the cost of equity of existing equity shares. You see, we got cost of equity 12.32 for the existing equity shares. The equity shares that have been already issued by the company. But here you have to get the cost of equity for new equity shares. The meaning is equity shares company is being considered for issuing in the future. So those equity shares will be issued in the future. You have to get the cost of equity of new equity shares. So there's a difference between cost of equity of existing equity shares and new equity shares. So I'll give another 1 to 2 minutes, quickly calculate. Now, how much growth rate? Now we have a historical dividend. So using this past dividend, you can calculate the growth rate. You can get the geometric average. You see in your study material, the growth rate calculation. You see growth rate calculation. You see latest dividend, earliest dividend, square root minus 1. Earlier we got the growth rate, ROE into retention ratio. So that is one way of getting the growth rate. Another method is this. So based on the dividend, you can get the growth rate. Right. So let's calculate. So latest dividend, according to the question 2019, 14.3. Earliest 2015, 10.7. So growth rate G equal square root latest dividend, earliest dividend, and number of years between them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Square root 4. You see, N is 4. From earliest dividend to the latest dividend, how many years? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So square root 4. From the answer, you deduct 1. Now see how much growth rate. How much growth rate? How much growth rate? How much? Is it 7%? So you will get 0.07. So as a percentage, 7%. Have you got 7%?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then cost of equity capital. So here cost of equity capital. That means existing equity capital. The next question, new equity capital. Right. Now you know the valuation model. Price equal D1 divided by K minus G. K is the cost of capital. Now you can rearrange the formula for K. You can rearrange this model for K. So you can get the K value. So D1. So next dividend. Last dividend 14.03. That is the last dividend. So next dividend. So this will increase by 7%. 14.03 increases by 7%. So that is the next dividend. So next dividend almost 15 rupees. Almost 15 rupees. So D1 15. Current price. You see current selling price 125 plus growth rate 7%. Then how much K? How much K? How much? Is it 19%?
Yes, it's 19%.
19%. So this is cost of existing equity shares. Cost of existing equity shares. So when you calculate cost of new equity shares, so we have to adjust flotation cost. So flotation cost are cost of issuing shares. So we know there are costs when company issues shares. So company has to prepare prospectus. It has to invite applications. Then shares are allotted. There are legal requirements company has to fulfill. So there's a cost when a company issue shares. We call that cost flotation cost. So when you calculate the cost of new shares, you have to adjust for the flotation cost. Now you know the cost of equity calculation. K equal D1 divided by price plus growth rate. So this price should be adjusted for flotation cost. Right. So flotation cost is given as a percentage, 3%. So this price should be adjusted for flotation cost. So price multiplied by 1 minus flotation cost. So this is how you get cost of new equity shares. Cost of new equity shares. So there's an adjustment, flotation cost. So you have to adjust flotation cost. So price multiplied by 1 minus flotation cost. Right. So let's calculate. So let's calculate. D1 15. We got 15. Current price 125. Flotation cost, you see 3%. You see a flotation cost 3%. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Right. Flotation cost 3%. So price multiplied by 1 minus 3%. So this is how you adjust. Price 125. 1 minus 3%. So this is how you adjust. You can calculate now. Cost of new equity shares. How much? 19.4.
Yes.
19.4%. Right. So this is on cost of capital lesson. Right. Right. So we'll have a very short break, about 10 minutes. So we'll start at 11. Right. We'll take a short break. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Right. So we'll calculate or do some practice question on time value of money. Right. So let's work out this question. Let's work out this question. Right. So we'll work out this question. A family borrows 600,000 at an interest rate of 10%. Right. So we'll do this. And agree to pay the loan with 4 annual installments. If the first installment is paid at the end of the year, how much is the installment value? So calculate the installment value. Quickly calculate the installment value. So we have learned under time value of money lesson. Quickly calculate installment value. How much? Installment value. So how do you calculate the installment value? So you have to take the present value interest factor for annuity. So loan value 600,000, interest rate 10%, loan period 4 years. Right. You have to take the present value interest factor for annuity. Present value interest factor for annuity at 10% for 4 years. At 10% for 4 years. So how do you calculate this? 1 divided by 1 plus R. So you know the formula, or you can find it out from the table. Now, if you look at the table, annuity table, in our post material, you see annuity table. From the table, you can find it out. So I think I don't have a table now. But that's available in your course material. That's available in your course material. Right. Or you can calculate. 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus R is the interest rate to the power n divided by R. So R is the interest rate. So interest rate 10%. R 10%. That is 0.1. In 4 years, I can substitute 1 minus R 10%, 0.1 in 4. How much? Is it 3.166? How much? 3.17 or 3.16? Right. Now you can calculate the installment value. Loan value 600,000 divided by present value interest factor 3.166. So you can calculate the installment value. 189,540. Now see whether you have got this. $189,278. Sorry, 189,278. Let's say 208. 189,280. Right. Now you have to prepare amortization schedule. The second part of the question is prepare amortization schedule. Now here you are paying annual installment. So here loan balance at the beginning. Interest payment. Interest for the year. Installment value. Then capital repayment. After that, loan balance at the end. Capital repayment. Loan balance at the end. So year one loan is 600,000. The interest is 10%. So out of 600,000, 10%, 60,000. Installment, we calculated 189,280. Now you see out of 189,280, 60,000 is interest. The balance is capital repayment. So out of 189,000, 60,000 is interest. Then balance capital repayment 139,280. Then how much loan balance at the end? Beginning loans balance 600,000 minus capital repayment. You get the loan balance at the end, 460,720. Loan balance at the end, $460,720. So that is loan balance at the end of the first year. So that becomes beginning balance in the second year. Interest 10%, then 10% of this, 46,028. Installment, same 189,280. Now you see out of 189,000, 46,000 interest. Then balance is capital repayment. See how much capital repayment. See how much capital repayment. How much? How much capital repayment? Is it 143,208? Is it 143,208? Then loan balance at the end. $317,512. That becomes beginning balance in the next year, year 3. Beginning balance in the next year. Then interest 10%, 10% of the beginning balance. 31,751. Installment 189,280. Then how much capital repayment? How much capital repayment? 157,529. Then loan balance at the end. $159,983. So that becomes beginning balance in the next year. Interest 10%. Installment 189,280. Then capital repayment. Now here we have made a mistake. Capital repayment in the first year should be 129,000. So we have made a mistake in the capital repayment in the first year. Then capital repayment in the second year, $142,208. $142,208. Then loan balance at the end of the second year, 328,512. Now, have you got these answers? So repayment 172.72. So almost equal. So at the end of fourth year, loan balance almost zero. Any question? So you should practice the loan amortization schedule preparation. Then the third part is how much total interest paid during the 4-year period. So from the amortization schedule, you can calculate the total interest. You can get the total of the 4-year interest. You take the total of the 4-year interest. So we have done almost all these questions. Right. So in addition, you have learned capital structure theories. Right. Capital structure theories. So this lesson also important in the exam. Right. So you have learned different theories. You learn meaning of the capital structure in the session 9. In the session 10, you learn about capital structure theories. Right. So you should have a basic understanding of these theories in capital structure. Right. So there are theories called capital structure relevance theories, irrelevance theories, and there are some other theoretical perspectives. So you should have a basic understanding of these theoretical perspectives. Right. So relevance theories are net income approach, traditional approach. Right. So you should have an understanding. So what is implied by net income approach, right? And the traditional approach, right? So these theories says capital structure affect the firm value. These theories says capital structure, right, affect the firm value. Capital structure affect the company's weighted average cost of capital, and thereby it affect the firm value. You see the net income approach. When the leverage increases, leverage is the proportion of debt capital included in your capital structure. So when the leverage increases, what happens is the weighted average cost of capital decreases. That increases firm value. So when the weighted average cost of capital decreases, firm value increases. Right. So in the net income approach, higher the leverage ratio, lower the weighted average cost of capital, and higher the firm value. You see the relationship? When the leverage ratio increases, so higher the leverage ratio, lower the weighted average cost of capital, and higher the firm value. So firm value will be highest when the leverage is 100%. So this is not possible practically, but theoretically, according to this approach, when the leverage is 100%, weighted average cost of capital is the minimum. That's equal to the cost of debt. Firm value would be maximum. So when the leverage is 100%, firm value would be maximum. But traditional approach shows a different story. Right. It's more practical than the net income approach. Because practically we cannot have 100% leverage. That's not possible. So 100% leverage means your firm's capital includes only the debt capital. That's not possible. There would be a part of equity capital. So in the traditional approach, you see, it says optimum capital structure. You see, weighted average cost of capital would be minimum at a particular level of leverage. At this point, weighted average cost of capital would be minimum. But when the leverage further increases, what happens is weighted average cost of capital would further increase. Weighted average cost of capital would be increased. So there's an optimum leverage level. There's an optimum leverage level. So at this leverage level, the firm value will be maximum. Right. So according to the traditional approach, there's an optimum capital structure. Right. So at a particular leverage level, the weighted average cost of capital would be minimum and firm value would be maximum. Right. But there are some theories called capital structure irrelevance theory, like Modigliani-Miller approach, net operating income approach. Right. So it says capital structure has no impact on firm value. Right. This theory says capital structure has no impact on firm value. Right. Then there are some other theories like pecking order theory. So you should go through this theoretical approach. You should have an idea. You should know what's implied by these theoretical approaches. Right. Then you studied about dividend. Right. You studied about dividend. Dividend policy. Right. So this theoretical understanding you should have. Right. You studied about the meaning of dividend, purpose of paying dividend, different types of dividend like cash dividend, stock dividend, right? Interim dividend, final dividend, determinants of dividend policy, different types of dividend policies, right? So you have got that basic understanding in session 14. In session 15, you learn further about dividend by studying the theoretical perspectives of dividend policy. Right. So you have to go through that. Because in the exam question, you will have mix of discussion questions and calculations. Some question will be given to explain something, discuss something. And questions are given for you to calculate. Right. So after that, you learn about working capital management. You learn about working capital management. So different concepts of working capital we learn. Right. Then you learn about management of cash and receivables. Right. Now, is there anything you want me to clarify? So this is your last opportunity.
Excuse me, can you upload
Yes.
the discuss paper into the LMS?
Not the coordinator of the course. Right. Now, so I'll ask the coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Now, this is not a paper, right? And this is not, these are not model questions. So these questions we discuss just to have a quick revision, right? Don't take these as a model questions or past papers, past exam papers. You will be getting a different pattern of questions, right? So what you have to do is you do all the activities in the course material and do all the revision questions in the course material. Then you will be ready for the exam. You will be perfectly ready for the exam. If you have done all the activities, examples in the course material, plus review questions at the end of each session in the course material. So you will be perfectly ready for the exam. So that's what you should target. So today we discuss some questions to have a quick revision, right? So that is the purpose of taking those questions. That doesn't mean those are model questions. These are not model questions. So anything you want me to clarify?
Sir, in the LMS, they uploaded only 10 session, sir.
Yes, I will ask the coordinator, right? I will ask the coordinator. You mean the PowerPoint slides?
Yes, sir. They should apply only the rest of the 7 sessions.
Right. So until that, you go through the criteria. So I will
Okay,
ask the coordinator to upload the rest of the set.
okay, sir. Thank you.
So what is available in the course material is also given in slides. Right. There is nothing new in the PowerPoint slides. Right. So it's available on course material. Sometimes be summarized and taken to the slides. Right. Any anything you want me to clarify?
So I have a question. It's about
Yes.
operating circles. So do we got the theoretical only, sir, in the examination, or do we need to do a calculation part also as well?
Yeah,
Both,
you have to
right?
prepare for both.
Okay, sir.
You will be
So
having, for
if
example, let's say it's 20 marks question.
Mhm.
Sometimes 8 to 10 marks for explain something, discuss something,
Okay.
and other part for calculation.
So
Sometimes there would be questions. More than 75% marks would be given for those explanations, discussions, only small part for calculation.
okay. So when you do that example for the estimations in the operating circle, we need to estimate for the current asset value, right, sir?
Which example?
In the material, we got kind of a, I mean, work in progress for the 1 month. So we need to calculate the material and the debts and cash in hands and everything. So they got a very big, I mean, like estimation I see in the
Is it
that.
available on course material?
Yeah, good. All material got, sir. It's in the session on, wait. Yeah, session 10, working capital management.
It's in the course material.
Yes, sir.
Now,
In the,
send me a photograph.
yeah, sure, sir.
You send me Zoom, right? Then I will discuss, right? Now, what is the page number? What is the page number? So are you referring to this one? Are you referring to this one? So can you tell me the page number? Is it 149?
Sorry, sir. Sorry for the delay because my phone is out of battery. That's what I said.
Okay.
So I already
What is the page number? What is the page number? Are you
150,
referring to this?
150, sir.
150.
So this one, sir. Yes, this one.
This one. Are you referring to this example?
Yes, sir. Yes. 150. Yes. Okay.
Right. Now you are given the question is to calculate working capital requirement. Right. Sorry. Right. Now, first you have the cost per unit and selling price. So this is cost per unit and this is selling price. Then you have the company policy, raw material, company maintain for 1 month requirement. Then work in progress, half month. Finished goods, 1 month requirement. You got a credit period of 1 month from suppliers. Sales are made on credit period given 2 months. So customers were given credit period of 2 months. Then 1.5 months salaries are payable. So there's a delay, like in payment of wages, 1.5 months. So that's our current liability. Overhead expenses, 1 month in arrears. Then you have cash in hand, cash at bank, 25,000. Number of units for the year, 104,000. So output level, 104,000. Now you have to calculate the working capital requirement. So you get the current assets and current liabilities. Right? You get the current assets and current liabilities. Now let's calculate. Right. Now first calculate the current assets. Stocks. So how much stock value? Now you see the company policy. Company policy now, company has 3 types of stocks. First calculate raw material stock. So company maintain 1 month. 1 month raw material stock. Annual production 104,000. Raw material cost per unit 80. Now total raw material cost during the year, you see per unit 80 into production 104,000 units. So this is annual raw material cost. So out of that, 1 month raw material stock you maintain. So this is divided by 12. This is divided by 12 multiplied by 1. So total annual raw material cost 80 into 104, 104,000. So that is annual raw material cost. So out of that 1 month, raw material requirement is maintained. Right. Then how much raw material stock? Right. Now here, the year is taken as 52 weeks. Then 1 month means divided by 52 multiplied by 4. $640,000. Then that's raw material. Then work in progress. Work in progress half month. So when you calculate the work in progress stock, you have to take raw material, labor and overhead cost. Now if you see the question, raw material 80 per unit, labor cost 30 per unit, overhead cost 60. Altogether 80, 30, 60. This is production cost per unit into number of units. So this is divided by 52 weeks for a year, multiplied by half month means 2 weeks. Half month means 2 weeks. So work in progress stock. $680,000. Then finished goods. Finished goods stock. 1 month. So you take the total cost per unit, 170. Total cost, production cost per unit, 80. 30 and 60, 170 into number of units. Into number of units. So divided by 52. So 1 month means 4 weeks. 4 weeks. How much? 1,360,000. So those are the stock values. Now you have to take the current assets. Then trade debtors, trade receivables. Now question says trade receivables, credit period given to customers 2 months. Then below you see 1/4 of the output is sold for cash. Our total output 104,000 units. 1/4 is sold for cash. That means balance is sold on credit. So this is the amount of credit sales. 104,000 divided by 4 into amount of credit sale 78,000 into selling price 200. So this is the total of credit sales value. During the year, your credit sales 78,000 into 200. So credit period given to customers 2 months. So this is divided by 52 weeks. 2 months means 8 weeks. Then you have the customer balance, trade receivables. 2,400,000. Then cash balance, it's given 25,000. It's given 25,000. Then you can get the total current assets. Total current assets. You can get the total current assets. How much? Total current assets? 640, 680. 306,000, 2.4 million, and 25. Total current assets 5,105,000. So from that, deduct current liabilities. So you have current liabilities, trade creditors, You see trade creditors 1 month.
It's 1 month. 1 month.
1 month. Then you take the total purchases and take 1 month purchases. How much total purchases? Total purchases
78,000.
Now
70,000.
any cash purchases?
No, right? Creditor only. Just
Then, for the entire requirement, you purchase on credit. Material cost credit 18,
no.
104,000 units. So the total purchases for the year. Then divided by 52. Multiplied divided by 52 multiplied by 4. Now here, there is no cash purchases. The question doesn't say anything about cash purchases. The meaning is all the material purchases on credit. All the material purchases on credit. The question doesn't say about the cash purchases. The meaning is all the material requirement purchases on credit. So material requirement, material cost is 104,000 units into 80. So this is divided by 52 multiplied by how much? $640,000. Then we have two accrued expenses. Accrued wages, 1.5 month. You see total wage cost per unit 30 into 104,000 divided by 52 into 6 weeks. How much? Accrued wages. $360,000. Then accrued overheads. You see accrued overheads. Overhead cost per unit 60 into 104,000 units, you get the total overheads. Then 1 month overhead accrued divided by 52 multiplied by 4. $480,000. So from current assets, you deduct these current liabilities. From current assets, you deduct these current liabilities. Then you get the working capital required. Now there's a calculation mistake in your study material answer, right? So you need to correct like this. Creditors,
Yeah.
creditors 1 month, yes, creditors 1 month 640, that's okay. Overhead should be 360,000 because overhead should be 480,000. Right. Overhead should be 480,000. And labor cost should be 360,000. Accrued wages 360,000. So when you deduct these current liabilities from the current assets, you get the working capital requirement. You get the working capital requirement. Right. Right. So you need to practice the questions in your study material.
Thank you.
Right. If there are any issues, you have the in your LMS, you have some options to ask questions, discuss your problems. Even you can email to the course coordinator. Right. So use these opportunities when you prepare for the exam. Right. So wish you all the best for the exam. Right. So I hope you don't have anything to ask now. So we wind up the session.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the time to all the questions. Thank you so much.
Right. Welcome.